north of Tehran, beyond the noise of highways, towers, markets, and modern life, the land begins to rise. The air grows colder, the horizon opens. And there, standing above the Alborz mountains like a white crown over Iran, is Mount Damavand. From a distance, it looks almost too perfect to be natural. A single volcanic cone, silent, symmetrical, covered in snow, watching over the landscape like something placed there by design. But Damavand is not dead. Officially, it is a dormant volcano. There is no confirmed historical eruption written into the record, no ancient city buried beneath its lava, no eyewitness account of the mountain exploding into the sky. And yet, near the summit, the mountain still breathes. Sulfur stains the rocks. Fumaroles release hot volcanic gases into the thin air. Around the lower slopes, hot springs rise from the ground, carrying the smell of minerals and heat from deep below the surface. To a geologist, these are signs of a volcano that has gone quiet, but has not gone cold. The youngest lava flows around Damavand are believed to be thousands of years old. That means this mountain was active long after human beings had already begun building settlements, shaping pottery, and telling stories around fire. And in Iran, the story of Damavand is not just geological, it is legendary. In the Shahnameh, the great Persian epic written by Ferdowsi, there is a tyrant named Zahak. He is not remembered as an ordinary king. He is remembered as a cursed ruler, a monster in human form, with two serpents growing from his shoulders. Every day, the serpents demanded to be fed, and the food they desired was human life. For years, Zahak ruled through fear. Then came Feridun, the hero chosen to end his darkness. Feridun defeated Zahak, but he did not kill him. According to the legend, Zahak was chained inside Mount Damavand, imprisoned in the mountain until the end of time. So when sulfur rises from the summit, when steam drifts from the crater, when the mountain seems to exhale into the cold sky, science calls it volcanic gas. But the old stories call it something else. They call it the breath of Zahak. And if Damavand is the mountain where myth and geology meet, then our next stop is the place where civilization itself was buried under ordinary hills. A few hundred miles south of Mount Damavand, the landscape changes. The snow disappears. The volcanic silence gives way to dry earth, open plains, and the ancient oasis city of Kashan. At first, nothing here looks impossible. Just low clay mounds rising from the ground. No golden temples, no giant statues, no stone pyramids cutting into the sky. If you drove past them, you might not even slow down. But beneath these ordinary hills is one of the oldest buried memories on the Iranian plateau. This place is called Tepe Sialk, and long before the pyramids of Egypt were built, long before the great cities of classical Persia, people were already living here, building here, trading here, burying their dead here, and shaping the first pieces of a civilization that history almost forgot. Archaeologists have found layers of human life reaching back thousands of years before the Common Era. In those layers were painted pottery, mud brick architecture, early metalworking, and signs of a society that was far more organized than a simple village. The people of Tepe Sialk were not just surviving in the desert, they were creating. They made pottery covered with animals, symbols, and patterns. They shaped clay into walls. They learned to work with copper. They built spaces for the living and places for the dead. Each layer of soil was not just dirt. It was a page in a book written before writing became common. And then there is the strangest clue. Obsidian, a dark volcanic glass, sharp enough to cut like a blade. But the closest major sources of obsidian were far away, across mountains and difficult terrain. That means Tepe Sialk was not isolated. It was connected. Somehow, thousands of years ago, people here were part of exchange networks that stretched across enormous distances. Goods moved, ideas moved, skills moved, and with them, civilization moved. This is what makes Tepe Sialk so unsettling. It does not look like the beginning of history as most people imagine it. It looks like history had already begun, quietly, under the surface, long before the monuments we recognize became famous. Today, many of its artifacts are scattered across museums and collections. Pieces of the story remain in Iran. Others traveled abroad. The full picture is still difficult to see, but the message buried in Tepe Sialk is clear. Civilization did not begin in one place, with one people, at one moment. It rose in many places. And one of those places was here, under these silent mounds near Kashan. Tepe Sialk was a place for the living, but our next destination was built for the dead. From the living layers of Tepe Sialk, we travel southeast toward Yazd, one of the oldest desert cities in Iran and one of the most important centers of Zoroastrian tradition. The landscape here feels different. The air is dry, the mountains are bare, the colors are pale, sunburned, and ancient. Outside the city, rising on lonely hills, stand circular stone structures that seem to belong to another world. They are called the Towers of Silence. Their older name is Dakhma. From the outside, they look simple, round walls, no roof, no decoration, no grand entrance, nothing built to impress a crowd. But the purpose of these towers was not to impress the living. It was to protect the sacred order of the world. In Zoroastrian belief, the natural elements were pure. Earth was sacred, fire was sacred, water was sacred. A dead body, once life had left it, was considered ritually impure. So the question became almost impossible. How do you care for the dead without polluting the earth, the fire, or the water? The answer was the sky. Bodies were carried to the top of the tower and placed under the open sun. There, exposed to light, wind, and birds, the body returned to nature without touching the sacred elements below. After the process was complete, the remaining bones were gathered into a central pit. To a modern viewer, this can feel disturbing, but to the people who built and used these towers, it was not an act of cruelty. It was faith. It was discipline. It was a way of keeping the world clean, balanced, and spiritually protected. The design was direct and powerful. A circle on a hill, open to heaven, separated from the city, removed from ordinary life. Everything about the structure told the same story. Life was below, death was above, and between them stood ritual. For generations, these towers marked the boundary between the human world and the unknown. Those who worked there lived with a responsibility most people could not imagine. They were not just handling bodies. They were guarding the thin line between purity and decay, between memory and disappearance. The Towers of Silence remind us that ancient architecture was not always built for kings, armies, or wealth. Sometimes, it was built for the final question every civilization must answer. What do we do with death? But Iran's hidden architecture does not only rise above the dead. Sometimes, it descends beneath the living. A few miles north of Kashan, beneath a quiet desert town, there is another Iran. Not the Iran of mountains, towers, or open sky. This one is hidden below the streets. For centuries, people walked above it without fully realizing what was under their feet. Homes were built, families lived their ordinary lives, children played in narrow alleys, and beneath them, in the darkness, a second city waited. Its name is Oyi, the underground city of Nushabad. The modern rediscovery happened almost by accident. In 2004, a local resident was digging near his home when the ground opened into an empty space. What appeared at first to be a simple passage turned into something far more complex. There were tunnels, then more tunnels, then rooms, stairways, chambers, storage spaces, wells, defensive corridors, and hidden routes descending through multiple levels underground. Some sections reach around 18 meters below the surface. The ceilings are low. The passages are narrow. In some places, a person can move only one at a time. That was not a flaw. That was the point. This city was designed for survival. When invaders came across the desert, when danger moved from town to town, the people of Nushabad could disappear. Entrances were hidden inside homes, courtyards, and ordinary buildings. A family could lift a cover, step down into darkness, and vanish from the surface in minutes. But the underground city was not just a hiding place. It was engineered. Air moved through carefully planned ventilation shafts. Water came through underground channels linked to the ancient Qanat system. Rooms could store food and supplies. Narrow corridors could slow enemies. Dead ends could confuse strangers. Sharp turns could break lines of sight. A small group of defenders who knew the layout could survive against a much larger force. This was not primitive fear. This was intelligence shaped by necessity. The earliest construction is often connected to the Sasanian period, and later generations continued using and adapting it through different eras of Iranian history. That means Nushabad was not built for one emergency. It was a long-term answer to a repeating problem. How do you live in a land where water is precious, summer heat is brutal, and armies may arrive without warning? The answer was not to run. The answer was to go beneath the earth. Standing inside those tunnels today, you can feel the logic of the place. Every passage seems to ask a question. Who belongs here? Who is lost? Who knows the way out? Who will never find it? Above ground, Nushabad looks like a quiet desert settlement. Below ground, it becomes something else entirely. A hidden machine of survival. A city built not to be seen, but to keep its people alive. But even a city beneath the desert cannot prepare us for the place where the surface itself becomes hostile. Beyond the underground passages of Nushabad, the land opens into something harsher. Far to the southeast, Iran becomes a world of stone, salt, wind, and heat. This is Dasht-e Lut, also known as the Lut Desert, one of the most extreme landscapes on Earth. From above, it does not look like a desert in the ordinary sense. It looks like another planet. There are ridges carved by wind into long, sharp walls. There are empty basins where no shade survives. There are dark stones that absorb sunlight hour after hour, storing heat until the ground itself feels alive. This is not just hot air. Satellite measurements have recorded land surface temperatures here, reaching around 70.7 degrees Celsius. That is the temperature of the ground itself, not the air around your face. In some studies, parts of this desert system have measured even higher. Imagine stepping onto a surface that has been baking under the sun all day. The stone does not simply feel warm. It attacks the skin. The silence presses down. The horizon bends in the heat. And for miles, there is no tree, no shelter, no water, and no mercy. In the central Lut, massive natural formations rise from the desert floor. They are called yardangs, and locally, many people know them as kaluts. They look like ruined cities from a lost world, but no human hand built them. Wind shaped them. Sand sharpened them. Time carved them into corridors, towers, and walls. It is easy to understand why a place like this becomes legendary. But Iran's strangest landscapes do not end in the desert. Far to the south, where the Persian Gulf meets the Strait of Hormuz, there is an island that looks as if the earth opened a box of colors and spilled it into the sea. This is Hormuz Island. From the water, it rises small and quiet. But once you step onto it, the ground changes. Red hills, yellow cliffs, purple slopes, silver salt, black volcanic stone, orange dust, pink valleys. The island seems painted, but the colors are real. Geology explains the miracle. Hormuz is part of a salt dome, where deep layers of salt and minerals were pushed upward through the crust. Over time, those layers carried iron-rich rocks, volcanic material, gypsum, salt, clay, and other minerals to the surface. That is why the land burns with color. The red soil, rich in iron oxide, is so intense that when rain falls, streams can run down the hills like red liquid flowing toward the sea. To someone seeing it for the first time, it can look almost unnatural, as if the island itself is bleeding. And that is the power of Hormuz. It turns geology into emotion. Dasht-e Lut shows a land stripped down to heat and survival. Hormuz shows a land overloaded with color, mineral memory, and ancient pressure rising from below. One place burns, the other bleeds. Together, they reveal something most people outside Iran rarely imagine. This country is not only a cradle of empires, religions, and ancient cities, it is also one of the most visually impossible geological theaters on Earth. But the strangest marks in Iran were not made by heat, salt, or wind. They were made by human hands. Long after the heat of Dasht-e Lut fades behind us, and long after the colors of Hormuz disappear into memory, Iran gives us one final mystery. Not under the ground, not inside a volcano, not in a tower, a desert, or a hidden city. This mystery is carved into stone. Across the mountains and dry valleys of Iran, ancient hands left images on rock faces. Animals, hunters, archers, symbols, human figures. Creatures that seem familiar at first, then become stranger the longer you look. One of the most important regions is Teymareh, in central Iran, near Khomein County. Here, thousands of petroglyphs cover the stones, turning the landscape into an open-air archive. There are wild goats with long, curved horns. There are human figures holding bows. There are hunting scenes, abstract signs, and shapes that may have carried meanings now lost to time. But one carving became especially famous. It is small, only about 14 centimeters tall. At first glance, it looks like an insect. Researchers have compared it to a praying mantis because of its long body, bent limbs, and grasping forearms. But then you notice something else. The posture feels almost human. The figure appears to stand upright. Its limbs are arranged in a way that does not feel purely animal. It looks caught between categories, part creature, part symbol, part memory, from a world we no longer understand. Some people online rush to call it something impossible, a visitor, a being from the sky, a figure wearing strange equipment. But the more careful question is even more powerful. Why would ancient people carve this image at all? Was it a real insect made sacred? Was it a spirit figure? Was it part of a ritual? Was it a warning? Was it a story told by people whose language vanished before anyone could write it down? That is the problem with rock art. It does not speak in sentences. It speaks in symbols, and symbols can survive long after their meanings are gone. The dating of Iranian rock art is still debated, and not every carving can be placed neatly into one period. But that uncertainty does not make the images less important. It makes them more haunting. Because someone stood here long ago, facing this same stone, and decided that this image needed to remain. Not for a day, not for a season, for the future, for whoever would come after. For us, the Petroglyphs of Tamray remind us that ancient people were not silent. They were speaking. We are the ones who have forgotten how to listen. 6 places, 6 different kinds of mystery, but one country. 6 places, 6 different mysteries, one country. Mount Damavand gives us a volcano that still breathes beneath a legend of an imprisoned tyrant. Tepe Sialk gives us a settlement older than the pyramids, where early people built, traded, crafted, and connected across distances that should make us rethink the ancient world. The Towers of Silence show us a civilization that turned death into sacred architecture. Nushabad reveals a hidden city beneath the desert, engineered for survival when the surface became dangerous. Dasht-e Lut and Hormuz show us an earth that looks almost impossible. One landscape burns with heat, the other bleeds with color. And Teymareh leaves us with symbols carved into stone, messages from people whose voices are gone, but whose images remain. Together, these places do not tell one simple story. They suggest something larger. Iran is not a blank space between better-known civilizations. It is one of the deepest archives of the ancient world. Some of that archive has been studied, some of it has been scattered, some of it is still buried under sand, stone, politics, and time. The real mystery is not whether ancient Iran mattered. The real mystery is how much of its story we still have not learned to read.